Okay, so some common mistakes that people make when they're drawing lips. So often newbies will make hard outlines for their lips. They will often make the center line flat. They will often make the bottom lip and the top lip the same thickness. Oftentimes they don't have these peaks shaped the same way. Generally speaking, for most lips, the center, the peak of the top lip is closer to the middle than to the side. Male lips, female lips, it doesn't really matter. On male lips, it's even more pronounced. So they'll often do what do you call them? Rainbow shaped middle lips. Oftentimes people just make lines all the way through instead of drawing creases on lips. Lips are not lined, they're creased. It's much more like fabric, right? Cancel. It's like fabric that's creased more than it is like lines, right? If you look at it up close. Let's look at this one. And take 500 years to load everything. So if you look at this, it kind of folds back on itself in places, right? It's not just, the lines aren't running parallel to each other. Does that make sense? Am I expressing myself clearly?
There's lines that go up and down, there's lines that go up.
Yeah, there's
the right lines that go north and south.
Yeah, the lines in your lips are more like the creases in fabric than they are like lines that run parallel to each other. It's like crumpled up fabric. Does that make sense? Often they will draw both lips the same tone, right? If you think about the structure of your lips, if you look at what a lip looks like from the side, obviously it's more like two cylinders in the center that's stacked on top of each other. Depending on the light source and the shape of the lips. Why are we here? Why didn't we go back to lips like I asked you to? So if you look at most of these references, you'll see that if the light's coming slightly from the top, which usually it is, the top lip will be slightly darker than the bottom lip. Not always, but most of the times. This is another one where the lightest point on the top lip is about the same as the darkest point on the bottom lip. Can you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then the lightest point on the bottom lip is much lighter than anything on the top lip, except this little, what do you call it, ledge on top of it, right? Nope, you're going in lips because I'm gonna need you. I have way too many Pinterest boards. Who else uses Pinterest, by the way, for drawing reference? It's a great tool for drawing reference. If you just literally Google or search on Pinterest for drawing references or references for artists, it'll come up with a lot of very useful stuff. So your lips usually aren't both the same shade. What else? Hard outlines. Most lips don't look like this. Oh, back to this. If you look at this lip, right, the outlines disappear entirely on the sides at the bottom. The lip really isn't outlined here. What you see here is the shadow on top of that little ledge. So a lot of the times there is no outline for the lips. So if you drew your lips with hard outlines, sorry. Mouth corners don't extend beyond the lips. If you look at an actual lip, then you'll see that that's kind of where the lip ends, that's where the mouth corner ends. And that's usually true for most people. So, and then the other thing is that the mouth corners, especially for men, for male lips, that kind of fold of the mouth corners obviously extends, or often extends beyond the corner of the lip. Do you see that? And then the other thing is that your mouth corner is not the end of a line, it's kind of round and it's a hole. So it's a hole that's gradually, there's a shadow around it. What else? So oftentimes people draw lips too wide or too narrow in the face. If we open up her, usually your mouth corners in the face, and we'll talk about that more next time, they're about, her mouth is open, so it's not as wide as it would be if it was closed, but it's usually underneath the pupils or in line with part of the iris on the inside. Oh, and the other thing is, like, in some cultures, especially like Asian cultures, they want the mouth to be really small, so it'll be like the same size as the nose, basically. That's not what a mouth looks like in real life. Both lips are the same thickness is often a problem. A lot of these models actually have lips that are the same thickness, but that's pretty rare in us mere mortals, especially if you're a man. You generally have a thinner top lip than bottom lip. It's not always, it's not necessarily a rule. And especially if you're drawing them from the side, usually one of your lips protrudes further out than the other one. But we're not doing side profiles yet. Who knows whose lips these are? Anyone?
Mick Jagger.
No.
No?
No. Jim Morrison.
Oh,
Jim Morrison. Yep. I was like, I know those lips. I've drawn those lips. Yeah. People are strange. Okay. And then I also just pulled this one up because I wanted to show you not how this guy makes a sculpture, which is pretty cool. But, oh, I guess there's no way to speed this up. But just the, like, if you take all the lines out, you can still see how the shadow falls there. Like the bottom of the top lip is more shaded. So that's kind of neat. So it still looks like a lip even without any of the extra stuff in it. Oh, and if you draw somebody with an open mouth, a lot of the times people will draw an open mouth, like you'll draw all the teeth in a flat row. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing, sorry. Like that. Yeah, you'll get all the teeth in there. In reality, if you look at a picture of an open mouth, usually, maybe you're seeing two teeth, the front teeth. Sometimes if they have a lot of teeth or their mouth is very open, see there, two teeth, only parts of two teeth, and they're not white, they're shaded. There's almost very little white on there. I guess they're trying to sell me tooth jewelry. Again, two teeth. There's maybe a little bit of the bottom teeth involved there. Mainly two teeth. So you see some of the ones to the side there, and then you can see about four of the bottom ones, five of the bottom ones. That's interesting. She has a tooth in the middle of her bottom of her jaw. Okay, so they're not perfectly symmetrical. They're not all visible, and they're curved, and they're shaded. They're in the shade. Parts of the teeth will be almost so dark in the back that you can't see them anymore. Okay, I guess I didn't have any more open mouth. And that's it for pointers that I want to give you guys to draw a mouth. So let's draw a mouth together. Oh, the other thing that I want to mention is that men's lips are usually more angular than women's lips. If you look at the drawing that I did here, this is like the softer, and I should say masculine rather than man lips, or feminine rather than women's lips, because the look that we go for feminine is soft and plump and round, and the look that men tends to be idealized from men is more like an angular shape. We can also use the shape that we draw the mouth to kind of show the personality of the person, right? If we think of somebody as like older, it'll be thinner. The lips become thinner as you get older. I think that's also something I have pictures of. The older you get, the thinner your lips get, the bigger your nose gets, and the bigger your ears get. I'm sorry to tell you that if you didn't know. Nose keeps growing, lips keep shrinking, eyes keep shrinking. So, and also the proportions of the face changes. Fun fact. Your eyes, if you look at an older subject, the eyes are above the center. Well, it doesn't help if I show you with my pencil on top of my screen, but the eyes are above the center line of the head on an older subject, and on a younger subject, well, you can't see your whole face. The eyes are, so there's a younger man, but his eyes are about in the center, right on the center line of his head. And then if you go even younger, the more childlike the features, the lower so there's a model that looks like a 12-year-old and her eyes are below the middle line of her head, even though you can see the top of it. Okay, so let's draw some lips. Some specific lips.
I'm still trying to figure out how that happened.
Hopefully it doesn't, but no, it's not it's more like the migration of the features. If you think of the face of I have it here somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, there's also a lot of really good stuff on Pinterest, tips and things, like if you're a quick visual learner. Like this one's great because it shows that it summarizes that like migration of the features really quick and really well. It's not that your head gets shorter, it's just, I don't know, it's like the proportions of your head change. Parts of your head keeps growing, like your nose. So I think maybe it's that nose growing the push. I'm not a scientist, but like maybe the nose pushes the eyes up, I'm not sure. Anyway, so yeah, that'll, if you're trying to show childlike features, the eyes are well below the center line. Mature features, the eyes go above the center line. So if you're drawing a model, probably her eyes are way down here, because we tend to like women who look like children. It's not mad about it, it's just how men's brains are hardwired. Anyway, but I recommend marking whatever the center line is going to be of your lips in some fashion, and then marking the middle line of the lips. And then you have this kind of, I don't know what to call this like thing here that comes down. And then I like to mark my mouth corners. So I know that's that far from the center, so the other one has to be the same distance. I'm going to use the pencil trick to do that. So those are the corners of my mouth. And then this center line tends to be a little bit curved. That's not curved right though. Hold on. There we go. That's how you curve it. I'm having another. Okay, so I need to put my mouth corners a little bit higher up. So I'm going to put them here. Yes?
Is it possible for you to draw a little bit darker because it's very faint? It's hard to see.
So this is just my, okay, I can draw darker, but this is mostly like me making guiding marks. But so I marked my center line right here with a very light line. You can mark your corners with a dark pencil. That's okay, because they're going to be mostly dark. I draw and it's okay to draw the center line dark because it's going to be in the shadow no matter where the light's coming from. There's going to be shadow on the center line. And then so there's that slight curve in the center, and then the center line actually extends down and then up to the corners. So same thing, it goes up a little bit and then down and then up. So the whole like center line of the lips looks kind of like a cartoon villain's mustache is what I was thinking.
One of those, like a Salvador Dali.
Yeah, Salvador Dali mustache or something. Okay, so this is the center. So I like to start from the center line of my lips. Then I like to draw the Cupid's bow. So on this model, and you can use your pencil trick, like looking at your reference, like go, okay, it's that angle, and then bring that angle down if you like, if it helps you. And you can extend this beyond what it's going to be and then erase it later if it helps to see that angle better. And then I like to draw that curve, and then I can see that this lip, the top of it, this is like a very thin line, and it only really starts slanting up almost halfway. So it really depends on the lip that you're looking at, but this guy stays very thin over here and then starts slanting up. So then I'm gonna use my pencil to find that spot where I started slanting it up and repeat that on the other side. And I did this backwards, so now I can't. Okay, so that's about the spot where I'm gonna start slanting up my lip on the other side. So and don't worry if it's not perfectly symmetrical. Nobody's perfectly symmetrical. And I'm using hard outlines now because otherwise you guys can't see what I'm doing, but I wouldn't normally be using hard outlines for the lips. And then for the bottom lip, I only put so if you look at the image we have, the only place we've got a hard line is basically in the center here, right? There's no hard line here, no hard line here. So for my lip, and I'm also you're gonna take that and you're gonna say 1, 2 of those is my bottom lip. Obviously my lip that I'm drawing is a little bit wider than or thicker than the reference, but it's okay. I'm not trying to make it an exact match of the reference. I'm just drawing a general lip. So that's where I'm gonna draw my bottom lip. And it's slightly curved, so I'm slightly going to curve it. And now next I like to add some of my values. So I can see that for the most part, the top lip is a lot darker than the bottom lip. And you might want to start erasing some of those lines that you used for construction. If you don't want to keep them or can't use them or can't incorporate them, or you don't think they look artsy enough or whatever. I like to actually use my construction lines in some of my art, but it depends on the purpose. So I'm gonna do some of that shading, and you're not gonna fully erase all of these lines. So don't just shade in the same direction at a slant or something. Like I like to shade with little circles. Since you're drawing lips, you can also shade with like lines that run in the general direction that the creases of the lips will run. So I've shaded my top lip, and now I can also see there's going to be some shadow underneath my bottom lip, so I'm going to add some of that in. And I can see that there is some shadow above the top lip, but there's also like this white part. I'm going to add some of that in. And then there's a lot of shadow going on around the corners of the mouth. So I'm going to add some of that in. And I'm still just using my dark pencil so that you guys can see, but I wouldn't normally be using my dark pencil for this. I'd be using probably a mid-tone at this point, like an HB. And there's some more shadow over there. There's a little bit more shadow over here. Looks like this is a man's mouth, so there's more angles. And some more shadow over here. And I'm also going to add some of the tones of the lower lip so that it's darker towards the top. And for my lower lip, I'm going to use those lines that run the way that the actual lines, the creases of the lips run. And then you can see, so can you see that the bottom lip on the reference extends beyond the top lip, the corner of it? So I'm going to kind of mark some of those because there is almost a little bit of a line there. And I'm going to shade that. Then my favorite part, make it disappear. And since this is a man's portrait, I would probably use something that's more like the reductive drawing technique, but with pencil, and kind of use this to basically shade the whole area. You can still see the tones that I created, like the darker areas that I created, but I kind of make a mid-tone for the whole thing. If it was a woman, I'd probably leave more areas lighter colored than that. So I just kind of blend everything out. And then I'm going to get more specific. So I like for lips and hair, I like to use a mechanical pencil. This one is one that I have that I really like. Again, some of those awesome drawing tools that the Japanese make. And I've got some 4B lead in here. So then I'm going to go add some of those lines that I can see and make some of those stuff darker again, some of those areas darker. And I did not prepare for this, guys. Or I'm halfway prepared. I thought I was prepared, but apparently I was wrong. Okay. So I'm going to add some of my dark areas back in. And I'm also going to start adding some of those darker creases on the lips. And the lines, like I said, don't run parallel to each other. And they're also not, like if you look at the reference, there's much more light here. The lines are thinner over here. They're more dense and thicker over here on the corners. So add some of that texture in there. And I'm probably going to erase most of this texture again. I'm going to also use my mid-colored pencil to... Some of those I prefer to do with the mid-colored rather than the dark color. So some of these go all the way through. So I'm actually just looking at my reference and drawing the lines that I see instead of getting formulaic with it. There's a dark spot right here that I'm going to draw in with my pencil because I'm going to go soften up all of these lines that I'm creating again.
And which weighted pencil are you using again? Which weighted pencil?
This one's an HB right now because and this one is a 4B mechanical pencil. You can also just use a very sharp pencil, that's fine too. If you don't have a mechanical pencil. We don't have mechanical pencils here. I can't buy us these because these are expensive. They're really nice though. So for my top lip, I'm gonna add all of it. You can see some of the creases on the reference. I don't know if you guys can see it on the TV because this TV is not very good with contrast, but you can see some of those creases on the inside of the lip only. So I'm gonna add some of those with the darker color. Kind of want to smudge this out a little bit more, and then I also want to clean up this ledge above the top lip. I'm actually going to make this a little bit lighter, and you don't want to draw a line here. Rather, you just kind of want to use like a stippled eraser line at the top of the lip. And then I'm also going to use this eraser to add in some of those highlights that I see. That's where these fine erasers come in real handy. There's another thing that I want to note is that if the reference is wearing lip gloss, there's going to be this swing happening in the bottom. So watch out for that. Obviously, this person's got natural lips. And if you don't want to, if you're at any point like, okay, I'm over this now, grab your phone, find a reference, and start drawing some lips on your own. So basically here, since I don't have any outlines, I'm showing that I'm still drawing the lips by drawing the texture. Remember, texture was one of our fundamentals. I'm drawing the texture of the lips versus the texture of the skin around the lips. I'm gonna actually draw some of this line in here. And then this dude has like a little lighter colored ledge right beneath his lip that's like not textured. So I'm actually gonna go add that in with my eraser and then shade it a more even color with my pencil again. And then I'm gonna use my smudge stick to blend that out. And then I'm gonna go add that dark shadow back in underneath it.
What was that movie when they said shrink? I think Dan Carver, I forgot the name of that movie.
I have no idea what I was referencing.
Oh, yeah, Wayne's World.
Oh, I didn't know what I was referencing.
She got it, Wayne's World, that's what it was.
Okay. I was just using
That
slang.
string and this string is something different.
Okay. So at this point, I'm happy with the creases that I've added so far. I want to add a few thicker ones at the top.
Strange Brew was fun. Strange Brew was fun.
Oh, if you say Strange Brew, I'm like, you mean the Cream song?
No, no, it was a movie, it was a Canadian movie about it had Dan Carver in it, and it was about beer. It was a comedy.
I see.
It had, no, it didn't have Dan Carver, it had the other guy, Rick Moranis, it had Rick Moranis in it.
I
That
see.
was funny, Strange Brew. It was about beer in Canada, and they said, and they had some other fun, I forgot, some of the other funny words they would say too in that movie.
And yeah, Canadians have some interesting slang.
Yeah.
They're also snow crazy.
Yeah,
Fun
what's
fact
that?
about Canadians, they're snow crazy if you didn't know it.
Yeah.
If you don't know any Canadians personally, huh?
What do you mean by snow crazy?
They are snow crazy. I think it's just something that happens if you're indoors like 8 months out of the year and you can't leave.
Yeah.
They say it themselves. All of the Canadians, and I know a lot of Canadians because I lived in Asia, they all tell me, like they'll tell you, you're like, what is it about Canadians? They're all kind of a little bit strange. And they'll say, yeah, we're all snow crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Like cabin fever.
Yeah, it's kind of like cabin fever. It's like Florida Man, but with cold instead of hot. I sincerely hope Mike cuts this out of the video because I might get in trouble for this. Okay. So after I've blended out some of these lines that I've created, I'm actually going to go fill in a few more because I want some sharp lines in here. You can see some sharp lines in my reference, and I want to add some of them back in. Okay, so that's everything I have to teach you about lips. Oh, the other thing is that this Cupid's bow here usually has like some light spots around the edges going up on this crest too. So if I'm using this semi-reductive drawing technique of smudging my graphite around, I would probably go add that back in. And then I definitely want to blend this out more because that line isn't so hard. So if you want to find another reference and try this by yourself, I would encourage you to do so. I will actually put up, do you want me to open up this Pinterest board that I had with all the lips on it, or do you want to just find your own on your phone?
Sure, you can open up that
Okay.
pre-search list, yeah.
Yeah, pre-searched list. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a good list of references. Do I have this? I did not have this on my list. I'm going to add this to my list because that's a good reference. Okay, and then let's go to lips. Okay, so I will leave this up for you guys, and you can choose one to draw, or you can go find one on your phone and do your own lips.